certifying that we've covered everything that needs to be done. So once we got that, then I'll get on the website, and then that, of course, will help with closing the units. Sales of units, we had 2 units close earlier this month. They were, of course, cash deals because of the crackdown on not doing conventional financing since we don't have a WIN policy at the moment. A couple more units may be coming up for listing on the 7th floor in the north building, 706. And I think we're looking at 109, right? You still thinking of listing? Maybe I got confused. No, not you. You're 108. Yeah. 6.
No.
No, she's not here, but she's looking at listing her unit, 109. Any questions? Pretty much covers my report this evening. Okay.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you. And next order is to do the insurance committee report. Our chairman of the insurance committee.
Okay, so we
Holly,
had met with.
Perhaps you come up here and address this up here. Thank you. Thanks. Sort of everybody's looking this way. Just makes it a little easier. Thank you.
Okay, so we met with Brown & Brown Insurance and Michael Mort of Insurance Office of America. We're waiting for the mitigation report, the breakdown of insurance costs, and the appraisal in order to get quotes. Meeting with them, they brought up a couple of things. One is getting a new appraisal. I guess our last appraisal was very high for some reason, and they advised that if we get a new appraisal, we could save up to 20 times the cost of the appraisal. Yeah. And also that there was a liability issue where an incident was prematurely reported, but since it has not, it's been more than a month and the incident has no claim filed, we may be able to get a lower rate and get out of Kinsale insurance policy and also save money in that regards. And there's also talk about holes in the coverage of our liability is right now, if anybody comes onto the property and let's say I need paint at my house done, and the painter comes onto the property and he drops some paint on somebody and somebody slips on it and they break their leg and they sue, they're going to sue them and they're going to sue us. And right now we have no liability to cover any kind of losses like that, which would then in turn make another assessment for everybody if someone sues. So we might need to talk about doing some kind of procedure to stop people from either coming on without really good coverage or add that to our coverage. So that's another issue that we're looking at with the insurance. And we're also talking to other kind of buildings, comparing to see how they're handling this wind aspect, since it's very expensive still. And that's it. And as soon as I get that information, then I'll get the amounts and we can go from there. Yes.
Thank you. The only thing that I would like to clarify in there would be about the liability, obviously, to the membership when it comes to an individual doing renovations on their own unit. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
So if an individual does renovations on their own unit and something happens to somebody else on the property, then who's liable for that? And that's a question that we need to get answered, just find out definitively who is liable in such an incident. I think, Mark, you and I had discussed that, and I think that from what we understand, but again, it's something that I would like the committee to get clarified, is that the person who has the contract for the renovations would be the person who's liable for any incidents that would happen, any injuries.
Yeah, I'll definitely get clarification with that. From what I understand, like with any good attorney, they'll sue everybody. They'll sue the homeowner, the building, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we'll have to see where our liability is. Or maybe just have a different structure of how we handle people coming in on the property might be a good way to look at it.
Yeah, just to have an insurance that they are actually that they understand they are liable and they have insurance for such a situation.
Yeah, maybe.
It would be a good thing to have
sign
some sort of a form for them to fill in and to indemnify the membership.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, that's something else.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
First, thank you for doing the research, appreciate that. And secondly, when it comes to having contractors on the property, we spoke previously about requiring them to have liability coverage, and it has to be presented to the office, to the property manager, the liability coverage of whatever the contractor is. Perhaps we should have a required minimum liability coverage limit so that it pretty much takes a lot of the responsibility out of our hands. You know, liability coverage for some of these workers is not that expensive, and for $1 million minimum liability coverage, $1 million and $3 million and $5 million, it's not that expensive, especially if they're running a business all day long. So perhaps in your...
It's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
The object obviously is to indemnify ourselves from any
Right.
actions against us if possible.
Yeah.
I mean, we may not be able to guarantee that there won't be actions, but at least know that if there is some action, that they really don't have a leg to stand on.
Well, and also, and then we also have to relay to each of the unit owners that if you hire a contractor who has a $20,000 limited liability coverage, it might not be enough, and we might not be able to give them permission to work there because...
Yeah,
that's a good
well,
point.
most buildings, most condos, when they walk into the condo, it's one building, so they have to walk past,
Right.
somebody sitting there and they have to sign in. But people will just, they'll have them coming in from all different directions. We won't know who's actually getting some work done. A lot of times you don't know your neighbor's getting work done, or the office doesn't know what's happening because they're just letting them in. So we might have to do something where it's in the bylaws or something where all the owners, like you said. So there's definitely some work that has to be done in that area
There's also
also.
like see something, say something, that concept, see something, say something. If you see a work person
Mhm.
on the premises working on somebody's unit, it doesn't hurt to just pick up the phone, call Mark and say, this unit's got work going on, are you aware of it? Just so that he would know that there should be liability coverage. It protects all of us.
Absolutely, that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Any other questions for the insurance committee? Thanks. All right, so we'll move on to unfinished or old business. The first item on the old business is a motion that, or a resolution that we made at the last meeting regarding decorum at the board meetings. So we did have a resolution that was passed. We haven't had a motion yet, and we won't be able to actually do that until we get legal. I believe you, Wayne, you said that you wanted to get a legal opinion as far as whether or not, how we need to do it.
I'd like to offer a motion based on this old.
Okay.
That's what comes from Mark as well. In the rules of the organization, there's a set of standards that the board has to follow as far as decorum, as far as language and such, and that's something that we have to abide by. So I wanted to make this so that everybody abides by this, because we are volunteers working for you and working for us. This is like one big happy family. We should come in happy, we should leave happy each and every time. So I'd like to offer the following motion. But whereas the Board of Directors of Bellair Condominium is elected to run meetings and conduct the business of and for the benefit of the owners of Bellair Condominium, and whereas from time to time the business of the board may be contentious and may inflame the emotions of board members, unit owners, and all present, therefore let it be resolved that anyone who verbally attacks, yells, uses cursing or foul language at anyone else in the meeting will be removed from that meeting at the order of the president of the board or the chairing officer. If the offending party repeats such behavior at a future meeting, they shall be prohibited from attending all future board meetings and committee meetings for a period of 1 year from the date of the infraction. Whereas, if anyone physically threatens, attacks, or in any way commits bodily harm to anyone before, during, or after a committee or board meeting, they will be prevented from attending all future board meetings and committee meetings indefinitely and will be subject to criminal prosecution. Such individual owners will be entitled to vote by proxy. This is the banned people. Will be entitled to vote by proxy for all motions and elections requiring owner member votes. However, Such individuals will be prohibited from holding office in absentia due to being banned from attending the meetings. I'm hoping for a second.
I'll second it. In favor?
Discussion.
Oh, discussion, yes. Okay, sorry. Good idea, let's have a discussion before we vote.
Absolutely.
Questions?
Good job.
Nicely expounded.
The only question that I would have would be, how do we get it out to all the membership? So that they all are aware that this is the,
It'll have to go out in a blast or anything for a member meeting. It could be part of the packet of the member meeting that it's been passed by the board and
Yeah,
will
it
then,
will-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It will have to be a members meeting. We can do that. The next meeting can be a members meeting. The only difference is that we have to provide 14 days notice of the meeting that's going to be discussing this change in the rules. And, excuse me. We have to mail it out to all the owners. And that's the only requirement that we have. Once that's done, the mail out is complete and everything, we have the meeting. That will be effectively allow the board to make the decision to put this in the rules or not.
so that's when we would vote on it at the members meeting?
Yes.
So not now?
Not now.
Okay, so, all right, so,
So if you're going to table it, all I want to say is that I offered this because the tenor of this meeting is fantastic right now. They should all start like this, proceed like this, and end like this. We may not always agree on everything. You can't always agree on everything. You get 10 people in a room that agree on something together, there's something wrong, okay? But if you can, if we can run it like this, these will be very productive meetings.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
thank you for your consideration, and we'll proceed however.
so we will indeed table that till the members meeting. Sorry, you had a question? Sorry, Al, go ahead.
Let's say Hank is getting on bad and you want to expedite, who's going to enforce that procedure?
Well, that's a very good question. We don't have anyone that, that would be officially in charge of enforcing such a thing. Any thoughts on that?
I would think you would just call the police and for trespassing.
Normally at a board meeting, you would have a sergeant at arms.
Okay.
If we have anybody who wants to volunteer to be muscle, raise your hand.
Ali, how would you like to be, something you brought it up, you would be a sergeant.
I think honestly that at that point, if the person is insistent and doesn't want to leave, you can call the police. It'll be in the rules, so it's the law of the land.
Yeah,
And if you have to, if it gets that disruptive, just make sure you're not the first one hitting somebody. Make sure it's somebody else is doing it.
For that eventuality to happen, I had already sort of planned to take a break in the meeting for a pause in the meeting while we deal with it, and then get it dealt with either, one of the board members or a couple of us larger fellas in the room, take care of it, and then
Larger fellas, you calling you fat?
anyways, so we had thought about that, but we'll, is there any other questions, sorry, regarding that?
Kind
That's a
of,
good question, yeah.
go ahead.
No, it's okay, it's a good question.
What happened today is a good example. It goes outside of the board meeting. But we had a gentleman come on the property today. I don't know how he got in, probably along with somebody else, the gate being open, something like that. And he was very confused. I got a couple of units call down to me and say, hey, there's this guy walking around the building, tall, 300 pounds, jean jacket, wearing jeans.
Biker colors?
Yeah, that's right, biker colors. And he was generally confused. So I went out looking for him, and I found him. And I was trying to help him find his hotel. Do you have a receipt? Is that the number of the place in your phone? And he said, no, I just want to buy a room tonight. I said, for like the 5th time, I said, we don't sell rooms here. This is not a hotel, it's a condominium. and he said he was gonna be leaving. He actually walked in, 204, when I was up there, we were going over some stuff for tonight's meeting. And he walked in like he was allowed to come in. The screen, the door was open because the screen door was closed. So eventually I got the police involved and he was arrested across the street at the towers. But it's so important when someone sees something to tell me and let me know,
Yeah.
so I can take action. If I'm busy doing email or something and I'm not looking up too much to look at the cameras or the views that we have, a phone call is great to get and to alert me what's going on that needs to be taken care of.
Can I bring up a question associated with that?
Sure.
We had talked about putting all 21 views back on our community channel on TV to show entrances to the gates and all that.
I've talked to Spectrum. We're allowed 2 channels for local programming for the condo. One currently is the cameras that are on the outside, the gate, the north and south gate. There's 2 cameras in the parking lot. There's a camera at the gate itself, right at the directory box. Those are currently on. So the other cameras, the other 15 cameras, are on a different DVR. So we can't tie the 2 together on one channel. So I've already talked to Spectrum on getting another, we call it a quad tuner, that we can take another DVR that's recording all of the stuff happening on the cameras and broadcast that on the second channel. They haven't gotten back to me. I think I talked to the right guy and he understood what I was saying. It's just a technical thing and I think we can get around it pretty quick and we'll have 2 channels of programming. Basically the outside of the building, the gates, and then what's inside the gates.
Do you know what the channel number is?
It'd be one more than the current one.
I didn't even know we had a channel.
What's the current channel? Is it 731,
I think it's 732.
732, maybe 733?
Thank you.
Does that require a cable box, or can that be done if you're streaming?
You can only view these cameras if you're looking at them to a TV set that's hooked up to Spectrum
Cable
in
box,
this
yeah.
building.
You have to have a cable box in your.
If you're streaming, right? If you're streaming, Spectrum, you're fine.
Spectrum is if you have on your streaming service,
Yes.
you have the Spectrum TV app on there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that should work.
Yeah. Now that I'm not sure, because I think I tried it once before on the streaming app. I don't think I could see the channel.
I'll check on my phone right
Yeah.
now.
We didn't set up Spectrum yet, but we plugged in a TV, and we were getting, the only channel we got was the cameras.
Really?
No box, yeah.
Okay. Right, well, he's doing that then. Was there any other questions regarding that? Okay, so then we'll move on to the next item of unfinished business. And that is the garages. So we had a discussion at the last meeting about the garages, and from my the many hours of reading that I've been doing through all of the rules and regulations and declaration of condominium, I understand that as far as the garages are concerned, they are part of our rules and regulations. Any of the rules that pertain to garages are actually part of our rules and regulations. And as such, because of that, they're not mentioned under our declaration or in our bylaws anywhere. I mean, there's parking spaces are mentioned in our declaration, but not particularly our garages. So what I'm saying is that basically because they're not in our rules and regulations, because they're not in our declaration of condominium, and they're not in our bylaws, and they are in our rules and regulations, it should be a board decision to be able to make a change to the rules and regulations, correct?
Sure.
So that means that we can vote on it tonight on a motion, and we can pass it as a board, and then let everybody know once
We'll
we do
do
it.
it, you'll introduce it tonight, and then at this members meeting or next meeting, then.
So it has to
you
be,
can take a vote.
okay, so it can't be, we can't vote on it tonight.
No,
Okay, so even though it's just in the rules and regulations, so everything that changes that goes out to the public has to be voted on.
any changes in the rules requires a members meeting,
Okay.
14 days.
Okay, all right. So I stand corrected. So we'll, anyways, I'm going to introduce the motion, and then we'll have to vote on it at the next meeting when we have a members meeting. So the motion regarding the garages is from our rules and regulations, section B, section 5. There are no changes proposed to sections A through C. Garages in section D, garages may be owned by unit owners only. They may be used by condominium residents only, so we've crossed out rented by. It is if a residence visitor will be using a garage, the owner/renter should notify the property manager. Garage doors must be kept fully closed except when someone is physically in the garage. Section E, owners who, crossed out rent, sell their units to others lose the use of their garages. And then the rest of that section is crossed out. Section F, garages may be sold only by condominium owners to other condominium unit owners. Renters may not rent out a garage that comes with their unit. We crossed out leased in there. The additions that I'm proposing no changes through sections G through P. The changes that I'm proposing, the additions to the garage rules and regulations will be section Q. Owners may not own more than one garage per unit. Owners may sell the one garage attached to their unit to another owner who does not currently own a garage. Section R, owners who currently, March 11, 2025, own more than one garage per unit will keep the status quo until such a time as their unit changes ownership. At that time, the ownership of all garages, other than the original garage assigned to the unit, shall revert to the ownership of Bellair Condominium Association, Inc. And section S, the board of directors and property management will reassign to the original units, if at all possible, any garages that revert to association ownership as soon as possible. Any questions, discussion?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Okay.
Let me just finish writing it. Okay. Question 1. When somebody rents their unit to somebody for a year lease, am I to understand you're saying that the garage does not go with the unit rental?
No, it does, it goes with the, it has to go with the unit rental, that's what it says in the.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm assuming that you're familiar with sections A through C and sections G through P, which I didn't want to include in reading up the whole thing.
Yeah,
Because there are parts in there that state exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay? And those are not changed.
And what you said was if you have more than one unit, when you sell your unit, only one garage goes with it, and the other unit, and the other garage goes back to the condominium association.
If you own a single unit,
Right,
and you have two garages, three
Right.
garages, what happens is the original garage
right,
is sold with the unit. The
right.
other two garages revert to the association
At no expense?
at no expense.
No,
No, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
Wait, wait.
Give up a $25,000 garage. There you go.
Wait, remember,
Excuse me.
we're gonna do this with smiles on our face. Okay.
Yeah, I understand that people are gonna have differing opinions, and I
But you-
appreciate your opinions if they're given in an orderly fashion.
You can't.
Okay, so, in the case where somebody buys another unit or another garage, and they live here, and they have one, but they buy a second one,
You won't be able to buy a second one.
there are some people here who own 3 and 4 at this point in time, and they
Yeah.
paid for them.
3 is the max, currently.
3 current,
3 is the max
okay.
in the building.
All right. I mean, I know that when I bought my unit, it came with it.
Mhm.
So you're telling me that if I were to sell my unit, I can only provide one garage and the other one goes back to the
If you
association?
have more than one garage, yes. Because that was the original intent and all of the original papers that came with and I have the original papers that came with the condo. The original intent was that one garage, one unit. And that's what it says in each, some units have garages, some of them don't.
Well, in
So,
that-
I mean, if you want to propose a reasonable way of compensating for someone who's purchased more than one garage,
sure.
you know, then, I mean, we're open to some different
Yeah, oh,
discussions.
sure, I'm not,
by all means.
I'm only asking
Yeah,
so I
sure.
can then turn
Yeah,
around and
I-
propose that the second garage gets purchased by the association.
So let's do this one person at a time. I know some other people have some discussion that they want to include in this. So,
So
you hand up,
but
please.
if he has two garages, I mean, he's able to sell it before it would come to you guys, right? If you wanted
He
to
can
sell it to
sell it,
us.
he can sell it to somebody who does not
privately,
have a garage.
Right, so before that would happen, that it would go to you guys, you could at least try to sell it, right?
Providing you don't have one.
Yes,
Right,
exactly.
right.
You can sell it to another owner.
Right,
If they don't have one.
right,
And there's
yeah.
plenty of owners that don't have one, because those garages were purchased
Because there
from
were,
them. So,
Is there a waiting list for garages?
there's a lot of people that want garages, I think.
You're gonna,
Generally, there's something up in the laundry to someone looking for a garage. That's the only list there is.
So,
I don't keep them.
when you ask that question, that automatically increases the price of the garage. And now we know there's a waiting list for people that want to buy garages.
Sorry, who else? Joanna, you have another?
Are we going to need a step-by-step procedure to advertise a garage for sale? If somebody, if you have three, if you
I
have
don't.
three,
I don't.
no, if anybody who has two or three, they're going to sell their unit and the one garage goes with them, with that unit. Are we going to need an established procedure for advertising the other garage or the other two garages for sale before it reverts back to the condo?
Right, well, according to the rules as they stand, basically, the garages can only be sold to another unit owner.
Right.
They
but
can't be
how
sold
is
outside of-
another
they can't be
unit
sold
owner gonna
outside.
know that, though?
Yeah, but, you know, like me, I have two garages, they're right in my deed.
That's, they came with, they came with the unit.
They came with the unit, they're right in my deed.
And they said, and just so you know, that everything stays status quo until such time as the units that have more than one garage are sold. That's the only time it change. So up until that time, as long as you own a unit and you have two garages, you are welcome to sell one of your two garages to another owner in the condominium, if you wish. But you can't sell more than one garage with one unit in the future. That's because what we're trying to do is go back to the original intent of what the building was designed for. And we have a parking issue. The bottom line is that we have a parking issue, and we're trying to deal with it somehow.
Out of
And if there's
curiosity,
other, if there's other ideas on how to deal with it, if there's other ideas on how to deal with it.
You know,
then-
most
then
people
I-
have garages, don't park in them.
A lot of people don't.
A lot of people don't.
Not most, but a lot.
was
A lot.
was there a rule change somewhere along?
Sorry, go ahead.
Was there a rule change from the original intent somewhere along the way after 1972 when the place was built? Was there a change in the rules that indicated that people could do that? Because obviously it became a huge, a huge wave of people selling garages. So was there a rule change that allowed it that we're not aware of at the moment?
Yeah, from all of the work that I've done as far as discovering how this happened, there was a change in the Florida statutes as far as ownership was concerned, and it was never really nailed down as far as, so it was, the liberty was taken at that time, I think it was in the 1994. But anyways, there was a change in the Florida statutes, and that's what happened. It was allowed that it wasn't clear how many people could own garages. So it's just a proposal, and I'm happy to, have discussions with other ways of solving our parking issue. Yes.
The garages we have is kind of unique. Most of the time, I know there's some exceptions, but the garages are not deeded to a condo unit. What we do is when someone owns a unit, I notify the property appraiser that this particular garage now is associated with unit 201 and not unit 112. So as far as the legal aspects of that unit, the association controls that when something happens to a unit. We update the property appraiser. You cannot, sometimes it's happened, but you cannot get a deed for a garage because it's not a parcel to itself. There's no parcel number to a garage.
Yeah,
There's a
when it's
parcel.
right in your deed, it's written right in your deed.
Well, like I said, most times, it really isn't incorporated in the deed. I know for current transactions taking place, it cannot go in the deed. It has to go through the association, and all I do is I fill out a form, certificate of ownership, and then they update the records. When you go and look at your, go on the property appraiser's website and look at your unit and the values and, you know, the parcel number it is and all that kind of stuff and square footages of that. Normally, you do not see the unit in those pages for a garage. There's another step to go. Now, they say they're going to be changing it. I don't know if they've changed it or not, that anyone online can see what garage is associated with it. But you can always call the property appraiser and they can tell you what's in the notes as far as what the association dictates as having possession of a garage. So it's like the association is allowing owners to use a garage, but ownership is a little confusing. And the way it's supposed to be done is through the association office to let the property appraiser know who has purchased a particular garage. And then they list it with the property, but generally it's not in the deed.
Question for you.
This is the first one.
Lou owns a garage. He owns 2 garages, let's say, and he moves. One of them goes with the condo. The other one, nobody buys it. You automatically assume ownership as the association. I know, hang on. We assume ownership as the association, and then somebody comes in and wants to have a garage and they don't have one. You can sell it to them, or you're going to give it to them.
Well, whatever the board decides to go.
The last item was that the board of directors and property manager will reassign to the original unit. The
Right.
garage that was.
But now that we have garages, and let's say the association owns 5 individual
They
garages.
get reassigned to the original unit.
Did they get a benefit financially from
Wow.
No,
it? That's what he's asking.
Right.
Who's getting the price of that?
That's like stealing.
there's no,
That's like
the garage unit that came, okay, let's have the scenario. Unit 103 has a garage. He decides to sell it to unit 509. 509 now has 2 garages. When 509 is sold, the original garage that 103 had goes back to 103.
That I understand, because it's
The-
not.
the
in-
value
it's
doesn't
not in
change.
this unit.
Other than the fact that the value should be based upon, the value of 103 should be based upon the fact that it has a garage with it.
Right.
So that's the most
But when they're writing this
reasonable way that I
deed,
see of doing it. Now, I understand that somebody paid for the garage.
yeah, the unit was bought with, like I bought 611 with 2 garages right in my deed.
It's
I mean, you can't,
garage.
you can't take one and say, here you go, help yourself. Can't do that. That's gotta be totally illegal. You do.
Well, if it is in your deed that you have 2 garages, then it'll be in the next deed.
That's what I
Those 2
wanted to know.
garages.
Well, that's not what he said, because you said you sell it, it goes back to only one per.
Right, that's what he said. But it did.
But most 2 or 3 garages are not in the deed.
Because a lot of them are not in.
So
the
that's
deed.
what Rick is talking about, if it's not in the deed. If it is in the
Right,
deed,
a
then
lot,
it's in the
a
deed.
lot of people buy garages after the fact, which are not in your deed.
Right.
I bought mine.
That's a good
with
point.
both.
Somewhere along the line.
You can't
Yes.
just give a garage over here, you go.
Yes.
So,
If I can give a little bit of history, since I've been here 25 years. There was a lawsuit several years ago by one of the owners that somehow or other, they looked at the original, documents of the association and saw which garages were assigned to which units. And when they started selling garages at will, that was never transferred to it, that was still there. So they saw that their unit had a garage assigned to it, even though they didn't have one anymore, because maybe 2 owners before them had sold it. They filed a lawsuit. Went to court, and I think maybe it would be a good idea to, if we could research that and find it. It was resolved at some point in time, but I don't know the specifics.
$60,000
Yeah.
paid by the association.
Well, yeah, I understand. I knew how much money it was, but I don't know what the wording was. But
Right.
after that, the manager we had at the time was telling people when they sold the garage to deed it. So there are garages in here that are deeded. And I don't think we have the legal right to go against anything deeded, to take it away from people.
See, mine, the deed is right to me.
My garage is deeded out there.
Scott says his garage is deeded as well.
Might be a good idea if we can find that lawsuit to look at
Yeah.
and see what the specifics
I
are.
don't think we can afford another 60 grand.
Okay.
You know what, I mean, I've heard the story several times, but do you remember, Mr. Crawford, what garage it was? Or what unit was associated with it?
Nancy, it was, yeah, it was 106, I think it was Carolyn, 106,
104 or 106.
I think.
Thank you, folks. We'll dig that up. Very good idea.
And a lot of people bought garages,
Yes.
and there was no paperwork to it. They had spent their money, and they gave it to someone with no paperwork, and they think they have a garage, but they really don't. It was done illegally.
Well, as I said, sorry, yes, go ahead.
That happened to us. We wrote a check for the amount, gave it to the person who was in charge, and, that was it. We had a garage. And what are we gonna do if in the event, we decide to sell a condo, and is the garage still in our name? I don't have any paperwork.
Not legally.
No, they were legal.
I understand that it's not a nice thing to think about for a lot of people. And the point that I'm trying to make is that we have a parking issue. And so I welcome your suggestions. I welcome your submissions, your opinions, your thoughts. I'd really love to see some ideas in writing. You can email them to me. You can drop them off in my door. But really, I'd love to see some thoughts in writing on how we can solve our parking issue. That's the bottom line. That's what I'm working on, is trying to solve the parking issue. And I want it to be fair for everybody. I don't want anybody to be out at all. I mean, that's not the point of this. The point is that we should all benefit from the place that we live here, and we should all be able to find parking. I mean, I'll tell you honestly, myself, there's been times when I come here after the evening, like after 5 o'clock, and I know I'm not gonna find a parking spot.
That's because a lot of people don't park in their garages.
Absolutely, I know there's a lot of things that need to be, and that's something that needs to be addressed as well. It states in the rules that the garages are for what, the car has to be parked in that garage. You own a garage, you have a car parked in it.
Exactly.
And that's what it says, and those things definitely need to be enforced.
Yeah, because when I moved here, it said, if you own a garage, that is your parking spot.
That's right.
But there's the validity of, the woman over there. that
Yeah, and I have a question over here as well.
although she may have bought the garage separately,
Yes,
since she did, and she only has one garage, when she sells her unit, that garage should go
so
with
she
it.
only has one garage, yes, it goes with it.
But you have no legal paperwork. That's the problem.
Mhm.
It's connected with.
It's connected with the sale of her condo.
There's a lot of them like that.
Yeah.
We'll call it goodwill. Sorry, you had a question, go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, how many units are there and how many garage spaces
129 units?
No, 128.
128 units, and I'm not sure.
73 garage.
73 garage.
But two of the garages, one is used,
Yes, that's
one is
true.
used for another purpose.
No,
And,
garage 12.
Yeah, one is used for garage 12 of the association, owns, if you will. And then when they did some, storage in the corners, a garage was sacrificed for that, so the garage numbers go up to 75, but there's only 73.
Meeting over.
Yeah, meeting's over.
Obviously.
I could only set the timer for an hour.
How long do we use the parking lot next door?
Oh, you do?
That was a good question. I did ask Mark about that as well. Do you have an update on that? Have you contacted the lady that owns next door about the parking lot?
Yeah, we may have a problem with that. I mean, it served our purpose, but it looks like it's still a problem with the city. They've got some fines that haven't been resolved yet. So when I negotiated with her, and it was just basically during our roof construction, I said, we'll clean things up, we'll paint things up, we'll put in some lighting, we may even put in some cameras, which we did, that are attached to our building. But it sounds like what I'm piecing together at the moment is that she sold it to her son, and her son knows nothing about what we were talking about. So I haven't gotten any further than that. I had one call from a city code enforcement. I've reached out to them twice and I haven't heard anything back.
What's the value of that property? If it were for sale, what would it be?
She had a price tag of about $1.2 million, which is really kind of ridiculous. I don't think that's even in the ballpark at all. She had a deal to make it a car wash, and that fell through.
So to clarify, just to answer your question, at this point, as far as the association is concerned, we cannot use that lot at this point until we get more information. So,
I've
right?
talked, as far as the legal definition, I've talked to 2 different police officers. They still park over there and kind of keep an eye on things for us between their cycles or going around the city. And I talked to both of them, and they said, Mark, we're not going to tell anybody. There may be a code enforcement issue, but we're not aware of it. But we're not going to tell anybody else they want. But it's kind of in limbo. And it's good that the timing is now because we got the roof finished.
Right, okay. So I think we'll table this discussion for now then. But as I said, I welcome your input in writing if possible until our next meeting anyways. Whatever way you can get it to me, emails or I look for solutions for our parking situation. And if you have any solutions that you can think of for our parking, then I would really love to hear them. So moving on to the next item of unfinished business. Just a clarification on the electronic voting issue. Earlier this evening, the nice lady in the red with the white hair asked a question of myself regarding the electronic voting. And it was a very good question, and I just wanted to mention it. I know that with the electronic voting, we are now collecting information from people that want to participate in the electronic voting online. It's not something you have to fill in if you do not want to participate, okay, just to make that very clear. And it is not necessary for you to still vote. In other words, if you prefer to just say, I'm going to come to the meetings and vote, or I'm going to vote by mail or by proxy, whatever way, that's fine. This is in addition to what we already have. It's not instead of, just to be clear on that. So if you wish to participate in electronic voting online, then we do have to get your consent form in order to do that. It's a privacy issue, and because we'll be using basically a third-party platform to tabulate the votes and to take all of the information, we have to have a consent form for you in order to do that. Okay? Is that clear? Any questions about that? No? Okay.
So far, I've gotten 35 back.
35, thank you, that's good. Right, so, unless there's any other unfinished business, we'll move on to new business. I'm going to table a bunch of these items that are on the agenda, but I do want to talk about past due assessments. According to the latest information that I have on our total assessments, which includes maintenance fees, our special assessments for insurance, special assessments for hurricane, and special assessments for our roof. The total that I come up with, and Mark can correct me on this, is we have total past due of $102,976.60. So we have an issue that we need to address as a membership and as a group. As far as, I thank you, Wayne, for all the work that you've done on this file, as far as, getting a lot of people in line and getting caught up. But that amount is, for someone like me, is a very scary amount when I look at it. It's not a large amount in compared to our annual budget, but it's still enough that it's concern for me. And I'm open to, again, to ideas and discussion on how we can address these past due assessments.
Can you give us a breakdown, hurricane roof assessment, hurricane assessment, and then the other?
Yep. So dating back, I guess, I'm not sure which, back on my brain here. I think that the old one would have been the past due hurricane repairs. I think that was probably the old one.
23.
And so we have a total amount past due for that of $1,093.12. $1,093. And I think you should have gotten this probably by email, but anyways. The insurance fees that are special assessment for insurance that are past due, $13,287.61. The roof special assessment, and I think this probably needs to be updated a bit, $55,869.34.
We got one more payment that came in on Monday.
Okay, so it's a little out of date, this one. Those three are all in special accounts, right? They're all in individual accounts, so.
Yes.
So those are kind of, it's important that they are up to date as far as being able to make our payments are concerned on those issues, all right? In the maintenance fees, we have a past due amount of $32,726.53. I know that a lot of us, when it comes to financial figures, it's like, well, somebody will look after it, but this is a situation where I think that it's important that we're all in this situation. We're all members, and we're all part of the, of the fact that we need to get up to date on some of these figures.
Are these all additional to what we already paid?
This is past due.
Oh, okay.
People who have not paid.
All right.
Oh, no, this is not additional to anything.
Okay.
This is the amount that we have owing to us as a membership. As an association, we have this amount owing to us that's past due. In other words, we have people that are paying us regularly every month on their maintenance fees, and it's up to date. People are up to date on all their special assessments, but we do have this amount of past due owing to the association. Yes.
It's not
If you
I got
know
something
who
on
it is, you know who it is, the issue is collecting the money from those people. And what steps have been taken to do that besides a verbal notice here and there, knock on the door, say a written letter? I mean, legally, what actions have been taken? Because this has been going on for some time. I mean, one of those assessments is like 2 years old from the hurricane. So, I mean, I'm just questioning like legally.
That's a good question. I think Mark, you can probably address that, right?
Yeah, I mean, what we've been doing is we've been throwing around we'll file a lien, and then the lien, and can ultimately lead to a foreclosure. I mean, that's what we've said, but I want to try and get some more teeth into that. So, the discussion I had with our attorney, basically, we were already discussing Unit 409. 409, the bank is foreclosing on that unit. We have adjoined that suit for foreclosure for our fees. She's paid none of her roof fees or insurance fees. She hasn't made a payment on the dues for the unit for over a year now. Copco is handling that for us. And attorney fees on that. which we will get at when the unit is sold. A change in the law took place several years ago that HOAs are first in line when there's a foreclosure of a unit. Years ago, we were behind. So before the first dollar is paid, it will end up going to us. And it will cover all the fees that are due, it'll cover our attorney costs, it'll cover interest, and it'll cover fines. We get totally restored when the unit is sold. So we're number one in line. But so far, 409, we've got some $7,000 in legal fees. But at the moment, we're not charged for that. He's keeping track of that because he knows, Cobb Cole knows that ultimately is what we pay for.
Is the unit for sale?
Well, it's kind of,
It's bank foreclosure.
they were trying to put a sale together at the end, but the bank filed. Once the bank files, it's kind of over. I mean, for her to sell the place, she'd have to have the bank allow her to do that, and I don't think they are. She was trying to sell a garage, and the bank would not go along with that. They would say, no, you can't sell a garage, it's all part of the package.
So how do people know that it's for sale?
Well, they don't, and there's no listing for it.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Well, she owed the bank $286,000. So you couldn't even get it for a steal because the bank's gonna have to take a short sale on that or something like that.
Yeah, but a short sale, then they don't pay. Like, we had one client here that owed $13,000. We settled on $5,000. Because on a short sale, you don't get all your money.
She owed the bank $286,000 for it. She
Right,
wasn't
so
gonna get
what
that.
would it be?
Yeah, well, underwater, wasn't gonna get that.
Yeah, so again, the suggestions are appreciated.
Let me finish. I lost my track and I didn't finish. I'm sorry. My apologies. So we've been using it as a stick, if you don't pay your fees, we're going to ultimately file a lien and could lead to a foreclosure. So that's been a lot of talk, that part of it. So I asked him, Sydney's the one who handles this for us at Cobb Cole, and can I get a feel for what numbers we're talking when you do have to file a lien and intent to lien, the actual lien 30 days later than that, and then ultimately foreclosure? And he gave me some round numbers here that is very helpful. Their hourly cost for doing work for us on this particular subject with liens and foreclosures is $295 per hour. So hours accumulate as they do more and more between intent to lien, intent to foreclose, and then foreclosure. Add to that the cost, the owner should be prepared to pay about $6,500 to $13,000, depending on how far it goes in this process. Anytime the amount is paid, or back fees, including interest, late fees, and what Cobb Cole has clocked up in time, that would all have to be paid to us. So my thought is that with these people who owe money, is that I'm going to have Sydney put together an attorney letter and line out these things. This is what you're responsible for if you don't pay within a particular period of time. $295 an hour, all of the late fees and all the interest, and ultimately you could lose your unit. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment is the next level of carrot and stick, is using this kind of letter to tell people we need to get paid now.
And is there some way that we can certify that the letters are getting to the owners?
Actually, the way we were talking, the way to do this is that Cobb Cole would send them out. They would send them out certified, and they would be in control of that aspect to let these people know what is going on and what the consequences are. So instead of just coming from us, which we've sent many times, this would come from our attorney.
Did they give any indication of what our response rate, if the response rate would be in a situation like that? Like, is it cost effective? Basically, is what I'm asking.
Well, in this letter, it will explain that attorney costs are already started, okay? I bet it would solve over half of our issues.
Okay.
How many people owe us money? How many units?
You've got the chart in front of you.
Yeah, so on the maintenance fees, we have 29 units. On the insurance fees, we have 11 units. On the hurricane repairs, we have 6 units. And on the roof assessment, we have 19 units.
And I'm assuming
Some of those are overlapping, yes.
On, like, you say the number was 19 for the roof?
Sorry?
How many for the roof, 19?
19.
Yeah, on the 19 for the roof, I do have people still making payments. We made deals with people for like $50 or $100 a month, and those are still added to the totals of what's owed us, but they've been steadily making payments. I've got 3 people who are on board with that at the moment, like those 19. The other 16, I've gotten nothing, but we've tried to work deals the best we can, and some people are staying right with the numbers and paying us that are included in those totals.
From what I understand from the opinions and research that I've received, liens are expensive and costly. They take a long time. However, there's the opinion that a lien is a good thing to use because eventually you end up with a foreclosure. It may take years, I don't know, months, years, for a lien and a foreclosure, but then the association recoups its losses by selling the foreclosed unit. So there's a benefit to a lien. It's going to be costly at the front end, but you get it back after years of going through the legal stuff, right? So that's one way of doing it, and the other way is what Mark suggested, and start off with using a bigger stake. Yes, ma'am.
You and I both have made valiant efforts to collect this roof money.
You more than I, but yes.
Okay. I've collected quite a bit over the past month. And I would say that the people who have not responded, even after speaking to them, are deadbeats. And at this point, if we have 16 people that have absolutely not even paid a single dollar, and we were given a schedule where if you couldn't pay it at once, we talked about this at the March or April meeting last year. We said payments could start in June, July, and August, and we should have it all paid off by August. And there are some people who, to this day, have not given a single dollar, made an effort to say, here's $5, it's all I can afford. Those 16 people, I would like to, do we have to put it in motion? I move that we immediately start the process of lien and then foreclosure shortly thereafter with the attorney within the next 7 days.
They're not gonna pay you. If they haven't paid you yet, then they're gonna.
Well, no, the idea is though, look, there's people in this room that have made strong efforts to pay that. For some people, it was a lot of money. Even if the numbers were small, it was a lot of money for a number of people,
Exactly.
okay? And we have to recognize that because we're doing this for the benefit of all of us. So the rest of the people that are trying their darndest shouldn't suffer. And those who paid it in advance, thank you very much for doing what we had to do because it needed to be done. But those who do not participate and don't care, obviously don't care because it's over a year later, or coming up on a year from the last meeting. You want to dance, you got to pay the cover charge. And if you're going to dance here at Bellair, you got to pay your dues. I mean, that's the way it is. So I move that.
Okay, so before we second that, just some discussion perhaps. There's a motion on the floor, and recognize the motion. We don't have a seconder yet. I'd like to wait on that. so we have a little bit more discussion on it. Be aware that this carries cost. All right, if we have to start this in motion, if we start these liens in motion, there will be a legal cost involved.
And it sounds like it could be upwards of $7,000 to $10,000 apiece.
From 6,500, going all the way to foreclosure, it's like 13,000.
13,000 per.
But if they know that, they might pay up.
I'm just, my thought is that it comes from somebody different, from an attorney, that's known in town. And what's in that letter is what we will do, because pretty much we turn it over to them.
Would Cobb Cole give us a flat rate package deal?
If you ask, I'll
If you asked, I think you could probably get it. You're a good negotiator. You have done a phenomenal job in talking to people who just totally ignored me, and you got them to think about it, and checks started coming in.
And we have some questions on the floor, yes. Yes.
I just have a question. The people that are owing the money, are they actually living here and they own it? Or is it the owners that are renting out? Is it the owners outside of here? Or is it actually people here that are actually living here and own it? Or is it the owner, the renters here, that it's the owners outside of, that doesn't even come here? Is
It's a
it them,
mixture.
or is it people that are actually here?
It's definitely a mixture of
Is
that.
it?
There's a mixture of some of the places I know for sure are absentee owners.
Right,
And some of them are, you know.
Are actually here.
Some of them are-
and they're not even making an effort, like people that are actually living here, that own the places, are
Yes,
not even
I
making
know
an
a few of
effort?
those in particular that have balked at the idea. I've spoken with people and said, nobody asked me to pay for a roof. Nobody asked me to put a roof on my place. And so they said, I refuse to pay. Well, that's fine. So, and that's exactly what was said to me. Nobody asked me about a roof,
Wow.
so.
And the condo fees, like, normally, okay, we pay the condo fees every month. So you're telling me that some of these people haven't paid a condo fee for a whole year? I mean, normally, not that I know, but wouldn't that, like, if you had a house and you didn't pay your mortgage for a year, wouldn't that go to foreclosure eventually?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're telling me people don't even pay their condo fees every month?
Absolutely.
For like a year?
320 has not paid anything.
Are they the same people?
Tell them these numbers.
Thank you. I didn't mean
I
that.
don't need to know statistics, but I'm just saying, so, like, I always thought,
Mark
I don't
already
know
gave
how
some
the world
numbers.
works
Mark
anymore.
already gave some numbers.
I'm always good with my bills and stuff, but like, so you're telling me people stay here for a year and they don't pay their condo fee every month, and nothing
Or
happens?
any of them overlapping, people don't pay the maintenance, don't pay the roof, don't pay the insurance, so we're talking about the same offenders, if you will.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
So they,
I'm sorry, you had a question as well, ma'am?
Yes, it's the same
Yes,
question.
they are.
Okay. So yes, there are overlapping ones.
Over the overlapping ones. There definitely is.
Yeah, definitely start with
start
them,
with them,
yes.
that's smart, yeah.
Hey, Wayne,
Yes, sir.
would you withdraw your motion? And I've got an idea that I'd like to bring up.
For you, Scott, yes. I would like to withdraw my motion.
All right. Thank you.
This better be good, Scott.
I'd like to make a motion that we agree to send out a letter from the attorney to only the roof assessments, that the 16 people that owe the roof assessments that are not making any payments, if that's part of the 16, to put a little teeth in it and go that route before we go out and try to throw out $6,000 a unit.
So it may be $295 an hour, so one letter is going to take a paralegal and the attorney to sign it, or have the paralegal sign it for the attorney. It's going to be an hour piece, so it may be a $300 or $400 letter by the time we send them out. Let's see, it's $640 for 16 people. Yeah, that's,
Yeah, because I think if you get something from an attorney, it has a little more teeth in it.
All right, so we have a new motion on the floor. Any discussion? Is everybody able to hear that? And I know that you had a question, sorry. Please, go ahead.
Well, it's more of a comment than a question, but if you have people that aren't paying, and if they're landlords, we should have a little extra hammer on them, because we have to approve all rentals. One of the things in the attorney's letter that goes out to a landlord should be that until you are flush on your payments, we don't approve any more rentals. So when their leases expire, they don't get any money out of this place. The other is that on these ones that where they probably are totally underwater, in that attorney's letter, also give them the option of just signing their place over to us. I mean, that's, it may only be one or two, but it may be an option that somebody will say, I just want to get out of here. You know, I don't want to hold the debt.
They owe a couple $100,000.
So, yeah, so that may be something that will work, and we won't have all the attorney fees and all that type of stuff, so you can just add that as another option, or think about that. But we have leverage, and I think if I recall right from the condo management end of things, that if somebody is not flush on their payments, we can prohibit them from using common areas. Which may be another, I mean, even if we don't do it, if you put it in the letter,
I remember seeing something about that.
you can't use the pool, you can't use the laundry, you can't use any common area.
The elevator.
Parking lot, yeah.
Park in the street.
We didn't get that. Well, we got it recorded, hopefully.
Yes, yeah, it's all recorded.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
Landlords, they're not using any of that, yeah.
Mark, did you have anything else to add then? You weren't here, Scott asked Wayne to withdraw his motion with regards to the lien and proposed a different motion. And his motion basically was to send a letter to the lawyer, or have the lawyer send a letter to the roof assessment only owners that have not made any payments. Is that correct, Scott?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so, and so that's a new motion that's on the floor right now. Okay?
And just that piece of information, the question asked, of the 19 still owe for the roof, 3 of them were active rentals.
So that answers your question.
What was it?
3 of them are.
Three of them are rentals.
But the other 16 are residents.
Or residents that are
Yes.
out here living. Wow.
They may be here only 4 weeks out of the year or something, but they're not
But they're
renting.
not occupants.
So another thing,
Thank you, Mark.
Yes.
Another thing, somebody should go around and look at these garages that are full of junk, furniture and stuff, and, you're not packing your garage, you can't pack outside. That used to be the rule when we moved here. You couldn't pack out, if you had a garage, and you didn't use it, you couldn't pack outside.
Yeah, we did.
Full of furniture, full
address
of junk, you can't pack in them anyway.
That was addressed. Okay, so then we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second for Scott?
Second.
Wayne seconded. In favor? Aye.
Aye.
Everybody, it's unanimous, passed. Motion was passed. All right. Moving on to the next new business. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because we're already running long, I'm going to table for future meetings the next 1, 2, 3, 4 items on your new business. So we're going to table a letter to the lawyers, actually we address the letter to the lawyers anyways. The volunteers issue, the painting and pavement issue, and the moving of the association in the 21st century, all tabled to the future meeting at some point.
Excuse me.
So moving right along.
Rick, we still have $46,000 on the table with hurricane insurance and HOA assessment. So I would like to have a list of the name, phone numbers, and the amounts each person owes for that. And Wayne Dicker Collection Service will attempt to
All right.
bring in the money.
Thank you.
Hey,
I did email a copy, I believe, of the that I was using to everybody as well. So you should have an email with all that information on.
Okay.
But double check, if I didn't, then I apologize, and I will definitely send it out.
I will also be sending them your picture and saying you're 6'7". And if they don't pay, I'll be sending you over to them.
All right. Moving on to the next order of new business, I'd like to make a motion that the association purchase a laptop computer so that I don't have to use my own. The motion is, I move that the Bellair Condominium Association authorize the purchase of one laptop computer to support the administrative and operational needs of the association with a maximum expenditure not to exceed $500 US dollars, not Canadian dollars. The laptop will be used for managing communications and other daily office administration, and the purchase shall be made from a reputable vendor offering the best value within the approved budget. The president is tasked with researching options, ensuring the selected device meets the association's needs and completing the purchase upon approval of this motion. Funding for this purchase shall be drawn from the operating account. Rationale behind the motion: the acquisition of a dedicated laptop computer will enhance the efficiency and organization of the association's operations by making board meetings virtually accessible, improving communication with residents, and ensuring secure storage of association data. A budget cap of $500 ensures fiscal responsibility while allowing for a reliable and functional device suitable for our needs. And just in addition to this, just so that you're aware, the computers that we're using now, one for our webcam that we're sending live streaming to Facebook, and this one are my computers. They will be going home to Canada with me when I go. So you will not have a computer here unless somebody else brings one. So if we're going to do live meetings or Zoom meetings or virtual voting, then somebody has to have a laptop computer here, and I propose that would be the association who would own it. So I'll make a motion. Do I have a second for that, or is this discussion first of all,
Yeah.
please?
Along with the purchase of the computer, I want to recommend that we purchase cloud storage as a backup, if not an external.
Any particular, like Dropbox or something like that, is that?
Whatever is
Okay.
most secure.
Well, maybe IT person here, I guess.
No, we can.
I'll look into that
find
as
out.
well, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The one and only desktop that the office has.
You mean doorstop? Oh, you mean the laptop with the
Yeah.
doorstop? Yes.
No. The computer that I work on, the desktop, the HP, is an all-in-one kind of machine. But I have 2 external hard drives on it that are always backing up, and then we do send it to the cloud.
Oh, so you have secure cloud storage already?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, good, well, I'd like to know about that. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, any other discussion on the computer? Any other discussion?
In that case, I'd say.
Second by Wayne. In favor?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor, unanimous. Thank you. Motion approved. Next motion, we'll get through the rest of these really quickly. We've only got 2 left. The next motion. So, we have a motion. I have a motion that I'd like to present. It's the motion to revoke Rule 4D of the Bellair Condominium Association and replace it with new wording. I realize this will also have to be voted upon at a members meeting, right? So this will have to be voted on, but I'd like to present it for discussion now. Current Rule 4D of the Bellair Condominium Association has been reviewed and found to require revision for better clarity and alignment with the community's needs. Whereas the Board of Directors of the Bellair Condominium Association has the authority to amend the rules and regulations governing the use of condominium property, be it resolved that Rule 4D of the Bellair Condominium Association is hereby revoked and replaced with the following wording. New Rule 4D, and again, you should all have this on your emails. Resident notices/ads may be posted on the laundry room bulletin board. Resident notices/ads may also be inserted into the south lobby area glass enclosed bulletin boards by contacting the property manager. Residents should limit the size to 4 by 6 inches and include the date of the posting, the name, and the unit number of the poster on each notice. The effective date, this amendment shall take effect immediately upon the approval of the membership. So that's open for discussion, and we'll be voting on that at the next members' meeting. Any discussion on that? Okay.
If people post things in the laundry room without an author or a name on
At this
there,
point, yes, according to the rules, they are allowed.
it's allowed, but after this passes, it will no longer be
It will be
allowed?
no longer allowed. That rule will be changed to include a name and a
A
unit number.
unit number?
Yes.
Is that the purpose?
Okay, so that will have to be voted on at the members' meeting as well, yes.
The cabbie can't use the laundry in the morning when they come pick you up.
Sorry, go ahead.
If someone does do that, will somebody just take it down?
Yes, you're all authorized to take it down, but once it's approved, once it's in the, but we have to wait until then, okay, until we have it approved.
Yeah, because, you know, everybody uses that laundry room. I know the cabbie that picked us up the other day, he says, I came early because I do my washing, it's cheaper here. Honest to God, that's what he said. I came early to use the laundry room.
That's what he told us, he said, well, I just came.
I mean, it is.
When you get in, yeah, with the gate, that's just before the gate was closed, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, so that, we can't do a motion on that. That's only for discussion. So next, I have a motion. I'd like to propose a motion to apply for a no-fee credit card for Bellair Condominium Association, and I believe this is a board decision, right?
Yes.
We talked about this. So this is going to be voted on by the board, dated March the 11th, proposed by Rick Brownbill. The motion is, I move that the Bellair Condominium Association Board of Directors authorizes the application for a no-fee credit card to be used for official association business, subject to the following terms and conditions. The credit card will be utilized exclusively for association-related expenses, including but not limited to maintenance supplies, vendor payments, utility bills, and other operational costs as approved by the board. No annual fee. The credit card selected shall have no annual fee to minimize the cost of the association. Credit limit. The application shall request a credit limit of $5,000, subject to adjustment based on the financial institution's approval and the association's budgetary needs. Any balance owing shall be paid in full before the current due date to avoid interest fees. Authorized users. The card shall be used in the name of Bellair Condominium Association with Mark Applegate and Rick Brownbill designated as authorized users responsible for its use. I'll make a note on that later. All transactions shall be documented with receipts and reported monthly to the board during regular meetings. The treasurer or bookkeeper shall reconcile the credit card statement with the association's financial records and present a summary for board approval. Any unauthorized or personal use of the card shall be reported immediately and addressed per the association's bylaws and applicable law. The property manager is authorized to research and select a suitable financial institution offering a no-fee credit card, complete the application, and provide any required documentation, including proof of the association's legal status, EIN, bylaws, or board resolution, etc. Board oversight. The board reserves the right to cancel the credit card or modify its terms of use at any time by a majority vote. And the rationale behind the motion, a no-fee credit card will streamline the association's ability to manage routine expenses, improve cash flow, and provide a convenient payment method for online or emergency purchases, while avoiding unnecessary costs through the selection of a card with no annual fee. This motion ensures proper oversight and accountability to protect the association's financial interests. Discussion.
You said $5,000 maximum purchase. Is that based on a monthly cycle, or is that based on a per purchase? And
The credit limit of $5,000. In other words, no purchase,
Maximum.
you wouldn't be able to purchase more than, you wouldn't be able to run the card at more than $5,000.
Okay.
That's your limit.
Who gets the miles?
There are none.
Sorry, but that's, yeah, there won't be any, there may be cash back, which will go toward paying off.
Probably not on a no-fee card.
Maybe not. And corporate cards are a little different. And, any other discussion on that? Oh, I did want to clarify that with the card shall be issued in the name of Bellair Condominium with Mark and Rick Brownbill designated. I may or may not be allowed to be part of this because of the fact that I am a Canadian citizen, so that is yet to be addressed for sure. Okay, thank you, yes.
I just wonder if rather than putting in a name, it
Has to
would be the president of the board.
Has to be a name.
It has
Has to be. I think there's a bank requirement, that they require a name. Somebody has to have personal responsibility for it.
Yeah.
That's the way it was when we had our business anyways, we had to have a name on it. Yeah, so any other discussion on that? Okay.
If you can't be, then who's gonna be on
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
it? If you can't be on it, do you have a backup?
Well, it would either be the property manager or the vice president, or the treasurer, I guess the treasurer. Treasurer, yeah, that's a good
That would
one.
make more sense.
I guess it would be the treasurer then.
Yeah, she's a better shopper.
The treasurer or and that's a decision that we have to make as a board as well. Okay, who's name we're gonna put on, who wants to be liable, right?
Make it
Any other discussion? Okay, so then, do I have a second for the motion?
A second.
John, second. In favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All in favor? Carried. Carried. All right, and the only other new business that I have is announcing the next meeting. The next meeting will be a members' meeting, and it will be on, subject to approval, and everybody's okay with this. I've got it for Wednesday, April the 16th, 2025. So we're moving it to a Wednesday as opposed to a Tuesday. The reasoning behind that is the fact that Tuesdays are very difficult to get notices and everything out because that has to be done on a weekend, basically, having a meeting on a Tuesday. So if we can move to a Wednesday, it gives us at least another day in there, and I don't know, haven't had a chance to really discuss it with anybody else on the board, so I'd like to know if that works. If Wednesday works. Wednesday works, Wednesday works for me. And Scott, does Wednesday work for you? Sorry, say that again, Scott?
I can only do the third Wednesday on the month.
Third Wednesday of the month? Well, we can do that. That should be no problem. Let me just check the calendar.
That is the third Wednesday.
That is the third Wednesday?
Yeah.
Just double check that. Not that I don't trust you. I have to look at my calendar. It's what I do.
Yeah, it's the third Wednesday. Yes.
Perfect. That is the third Wednesday. So that's good then. So we're good for Wednesday, April the 16th at 6 p.m. back here, and it will be a members' meeting. So there will be votes. The members will be voting at that time.
Question.
Yes.
For passing any of the rules that or motions that we submitted today, is this where we need 51% or 50% plus one? So,
It's of the people that are voting.
It's, the board still votes.
Right.
Yes or no.
Yeah.
The members do not vote. But the requirement is,
They have to
because
get
it's a
notice.
change in the rules of that everybody knows about it well in advance, so they'll know about it 14 days in advance.
okay,
It's not like an election.
okay.
Correct, not like